Hi, I'm Mia St. John, and you're listening to Fascination Street podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Rick Ferrari. Cool name, right? Rick Ferrari is a commercial talent agent out of Los Angeles and co-founder of Ferrari Talent, a commercial talent agency. In this episode, we get to know Rick, where he was born and raised, and what got him into the talent agency game. We talk about his time in New York, working with models and movie stars. We talk about when and why he moved to Los Angeles to basically do the same thing, but on the other coast. And we talk about why him and his partner recently founded Ferrari Talent. Rick has led a pretty fascinating life, and he tells a bunch of great stories, including stories about Studio 54, stories about Dolly Parton, and even his involvement in producing a Broadway musical. I had a lot of fun talking to Rick. He is hilarious. You're going to have a blasty blast, I promise. And this is my conversation with the co-founder of Ferrari Talent, Rick Ferrari.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Rick Ferrari. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic. It is 100% my pleasure. First of all, let's talk about that name, bro. Rick Ferrari sounds like a made-up name. Is that a made-up name?
No, it really does. I used to be called game show host, Vegas lounge act, porn star. It's funny how no matter how cool your name is, kids find a way to tease you where it hurts. It's kind of true. It sounds like all of those, even a used car salesman. But it's been a cool name. I definitely have enjoyed it at times and hated it other times. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
I will say that if somebody was going to pick themselves a porn name, Dick Ferrari, it doesn't get much better than that, right? Come on.
Like Dirk Diggler.
Exactly like Dirk Diggler.
Hysterical.
That is awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories that go with that. I grew up in New York City, and I grew up right in the center of everything, Times Square. I literally lived on 43rd between 8th and 9th, which is Hell's Kitchen. I kind of have that West Side Story beginning because my mom is Puerto Rican and Dominican, and my dad is Italian who grew up in Colombia. So it's exactly like the West Side Story love affair, which is kind of cool. I grew up playing in that same playground that they zoomed down on in the beginning of the West Side Story. So it used to be very much like a ghetto that was fought over between, when the Puerto Ricans arrived, the Irish and the Italians were not about to give up their turf.
But that's how it happens throughout history, right? Whenever a new group arrives, the old group is like, not on my watch, mother effers, beat it.
Exactly. I think it's just something from the universe for us to sort of confront all of our fears about being different or people being different from us.
Yeah, I think it's tribal. It's, I'd love to say it's indicative exclusively to America, but that's worldwide, man. I mean, tribes are warring all over the place and have been since the beginning of tribes. But when you said that you had a West Side Story kind of growing up, and then you were like, my mom, and I was waiting for you to say your mom was a shark and your dad was a jet.
Well, my mom was she wasn't in a gang, but I mean, when you grow up in that neighborhood, it's exactly like you hear the gangs fighting or you hear somebody getting shot, or during Mayor Beam, it was a different city. So I grew up in New York City. Mother's side of the family are all pretty much in the acting or film world. Dad's side of the family are all pretty much in the music, recording, touring world. So I grew up in the middle of that, which kind of is the precursor to why I am in the business that I'm in. But pretty early in New York, I started going to Studio 54.
Wait, how old are you?
I was 13 years old, dude. I was 13. How old am I now? I'm 50.
No, I don't care about that. I was just like, you don't look young enough to have even been alive when Studio 54 was a thing.
I'm very proud of my age because I look pretty okay for my age.
You look really young. I bet your husband is happy about that.
Thank you. I think so. I think we're both happy about it. But, in those clubs, there was another one called Xenon. Studio 54 and Xenon, they catered to like the celebrities and the elite and,
Yeah, no, Donald Trump couldn't even get into Studio 54.
Eventually he did. Eventually they finally let him in. Yeah, it was I was obsessed. I was obsessed with like glitter and fame and celebrities and the making of artists. And so when I got, my golden ticket to know the head bouncers at both of those clubs, it was perfect. I went to the High School of Art and Design, and a lot of those kids would go to Studio 54.
Wait, is that Fame?
No, actually, that's High School Performing Arts. What do they call it? LaGuardia, I think they call it now.
Okay.
I actually tried out for that one, and I actually got accepted. But I chose art and design because it was more centrally located. It was on 57th and 2nd, so it's a lot closer to my house. But I digress. I went to the High School of Art and Design. The only person I knew there was Marc Jacobs, who became Marc Jacobs.
The Marc Jacobs?
The Marc Jacobs. And when you go to a specialized art school, you have to pick majors just like you do in college. So he was already there. He's like a year or two ahead of me, but he chose fashion and costume design. And so I kind of took it just like teenagers do. Like I took that major just to be with somebody I knew rather than really think about what I wanted to do. I just was always a class artist. I could always draw the shit out of anybody's face. But I took that and I hated it until they asked us to do a paper on one of the fashion related businesses. On the list, there was modeling agencies. So I chose that. And luckily enough, through marriage, I had a relationship with a very famous model at the time and her mom. And they introduced me to the top agencies so I could interview them for my paper. I fell in love with that industry right away, and I started cutting school. My 9th and 10th period teachers were dumbbells. They were the kind that you could like have a friend fill in your name and they'd never know the difference. So I cut class and I started interning at one of the top modeling agencies there. I spent the 80s between Studio 54 and modeling agencies. That was pretty much my growing up in the 80s. So that's the story of New York. I moved to LA in 89.
Wow. Well, first of all, you skipped the part where, didn't you work for MTV for a little bit before you moved to LA?
Oh, yeah. First, I got involved with production assistant stuff with the guys that did Billy Idol's Eyes Without a Face video. I got involved with them and I slowly became an art director. So I didn't work for MTV, but our video won Best Video for the first MTV Music Awards. It was September 1984. It was at Radio City Music Hall. And we had lost every award. Like the Vanguard went to Thriller and, we lost every award until the very last award of the night went to the Cars, You Might Think.
Yeah.
And we had all worked on that.
You worked on that video?
Yeah. It was the same company, Charlex. They used to do the commercials for, I don't know if you remember National Enquirer commercials, where they would have little cutout animation things and they'd have like a little angel going up to heaven and really, really, really crude type of almost like South Park, but even cruder. We did the music video like that, and it was the first of its kind, and it won Video of the Year. I mean, Jeff Stein, the director of that video, is a genius, and he went on to be probably the top music video director, arguably, of the 80s and 90s. So it was a fun time. I remember filling up the Capitol Theater in New Jersey, which a lot of the rock concert fans know very well. My job was to fill it up with extras to do the music video for Rebel Yell. That was interesting. My first boyfriend was Bill O'Coin, the rock manager for Billy Idol and Kiss.
Jesus.
Yeah, I met him at Studio 54, and I was underage. He's passed away now, so I can talk about it. But yeah, I learned a lot about music management, about management, period, of artists from him. He was a genius. Everybody agreed on that. So I worked on music videos. It was a wonderful time. I did that. I bounced between that and working at modeling agencies, but I did some really cool ones. Yeah.
So take this in the spirit in which it is intended. What the fuck am I talking to you for? Let's get Marc Jacobs on the phone. Just kidding.
Oh, man.
I'm totally messing with you, man.
Yeah.
So this famous model that you had a relationship to by marriage.
Yeah.
We're going to not say her name, or can we say her name?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Brooke Shields. So
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That's a person. Brooke Shields is a person.
Yeah. Brooke Shields, Calvin Klein jeans. What comes between me and my Calvin is nothing.
All right. Take it easy. Yeah, and you did your school paper on her? Is that what it was? You interviewed her for a paper or something?
No, I did a school paper on the modeling industry.
Oh, okay.
So I talked to her mom and her, and she was like, our scope is only Brooke. You're going to want to talk to, agencies that handle a lot of models and, can tell you more about their industry. So she made an introduction so that I could get appointments with the top, with Elite and Ford.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I eventually interned for Zoli, which was one of the top 4 agencies in New York at the time.
Kick ass. Why did you move to Los Angeles? Because if I understand my fashion history and my talent history, New York, I don't know if it still is, but at least back then it was the capital of model for print and advertising and
100%
modeling and things. And then you're just like, fuck it. I'm going to go to LA where I'm going to have to drive everywhere instead of walk. And everybody's kind of an asshole in Los Angeles, especially at that time. And there's no print. Nobody's doing print there. So like, what made you move to LA?
I was 24. And, when you get to that age, you want to live elsewhere. You want to really explore. I mean, I had spent a summer in Paris and I loved that, but, it wasn't for me to stay there. I knew LA really well because my mom was an actress and we had come out here often enough where the whole 5th grade, I went to Horace Mann School in Beverly Hills. And that was fun because my mom was doing a show at the time. Oh, I forgot to tell you, like back during that time period, when I was like 16, my mom opened a modeling agency for me. She was a really young mom, so I guess she was still a child herself. When I was 16, she was still kind of very, very young.
Was that Ferrari models?
She opened the very first Ferrari models. There's been three Ferrari businesses.
Sure.
But the first one was opened by her and she counted on me. She was 16 years old. She counted me from all the experience that I got at Zoli that we could pull it off. I mean, we closed in 2 years and then I went to go work for Click, which was it was the hottest modeling agency on the planet.
And so during these events, you were the talent, right? You were not an agent. You were the actual model?
No. I was learning the agent business. I was like an assistant. I was an intern. I was a junior agent. As a teenager, I was obsessed with representing people.
So when your mom opened a modeling agency for you, it was so you could learn the ropes, not so that she could represent you and get you gigs as a model.
No, it's so that I could cut my teeth in terms of like booking models and choosing them and what makes a beautiful model and all of that good stuff. She knew that I was just obsessed with that business.
Just so that I can understand the parenting behind this. Your mom was so supportive of what you wanted to do when you were 16 years old that she started her own company just so that you could learn how to do what you wanted to do.
That's correct.
I hate your mother.
But she didn't like the part, I quit high school at 16. That was when you could quit high school. And
you can do it now too.
I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to school anymore. I know what I want to do. I mean, if I could go back in time, I would definitely have spent a little time in college and had all that growing up fun that happens.
So you would have gone to college just for the college experience, not for the learning part of it, not for the education, just for the parties?
Just for the college experience, just for the parties, exactly. I was a party animal, you know what I mean? That was how I grew up. I grew up very, very much involved with partying.
Well, I should say so. You were going to Studio 54 at 13 years old, but it sounds like you're a party dude, like from the beginning.
13 to 16 were my Studio 54 years. I think even more, 13 to probably 17.
You should write a memoir about those years and those experiences.
I'm in the book.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, there's a book written by Mark Fleischman, who was the latter after Steve Rubell. Mark Fleischman was the next owner of Studio 54. And he wrote a book and I'm in it. I was one of the usual suspects. I don't know if you know from America's Top Model, Jay Alexander is one of the usual judges on the show. People that know that show will know Jay Alexander, but he used to be the resident drag queen at Studio 54. He's like 6'5", tall, Jesus. And wore heels. And since we were art and design, my other friend at school, Genevieve Andre, she was the best designer in the school, better than Mark even.
Mark Jacobs?
Yeah.
Take that, Mark.
Sorry, Mark, but she was. Genevieve and Mark were the two best by far. She made great dresses for him. And we would carry the train of the dress, like Alexander had servants or something, like she was a big queen, which she was. And so we started going into Studio 54 like that.
What were you wearing? Were you wearing like a loincloth or a diaper or something lascivious like that?
No, although if you have time for an anecdote.
Do it.
Studio 54 had a lot of theme parties. There was always a theme party. You'd get a little postcard and so I went to a toga party at Studio 54 and I was probably 14 or 15. I was in a toga, which was really a sheet tied fancily. You know, we knew how to drape because we went to draping class. And No, we did a little toga, you know how to like make all the creases like a toga. And I went home with some guy who gave me a Quaalude, and I had never taken a Quaalude before. And I woke up.
Was his name Bill Cosby?
No. It wasn't Bill Cosby. I don't even know who the guy was anymore. But I woke up in his apartment. He was still sleeping, and it was a school day. And I rushed to tie this sheet all over my body again. There I am on Park Avenue South during morning rush hour, trying to hail a cab to get home. I finally get a cab dressed in a sheet. And as we pull up to our apartment building, I see 2 cop cars outside our apartment building. When I run into the building, the doorman and the elevator man, they're like, "You're in so much trouble." So my heart's pounding out of my chest, and I take the elevator up to the 11th floor. There's cops everywhere. And there's a female cop in my mom's bedroom. My mom's hysterically crying. And like, somehow we got on the topic of my curfew. The cop asked my mom, and she said, "Well, you know, the clubs all close at 4 a.m. So if he's not home by 4:30, then I panic."
Oh,
and it was something out of a movie. The officer just closed her little pad and said, "You know what? We're done here. Or your son's fine."
You heard a record scratch, and then she just slowly closed her notebook and then walked out of the room. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It was a weird time. I came out of the closet at 14 with my mom, and you know
was it that day?
No, it was actually after that. Believe it or not, she didn't.
I would have took advantage of all those cops there. Hey guys, can y'all hang around for a second? I gotta tell my parents something real quick.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Erica.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we're the hosts of Trashy Trashy.
We're a podcast filled with trashy news stories and garbage people.
Did you leave the scene of an accident to go tanning?
Do you refer to wearing the strap down on your Crocs as sports mode?
Have you ordered Domino's online before they even open in the morning?
Are you switching the same AAA batteries from your TV remote to your vibrator instead of just buying more batteries?
Or are you normal?
Check us out wherever you download podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
Look, I wanted to grow up really fast. I had no interest in being a teenager. So I did everything that I had to accelerate my adulthood.
Sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, so when I moved out to LA, like you asked me before, I thought about, I'm coming from the center of the world, which I think New York City, Manhattan is.
New York also thinks that.
They do. They think they're the center of the universe, actually.
There you go.
But when you grow up there, you kind of want to go somewhere else. So I picked LA. I knew the city and I loved the feel of it. You know, I came out here and had some really great support from some of the top gay executives in the entertainment industry. They showed me the ropes and introduced me to everybody I needed to meet.
Did you meet them at some sort of version of a Studio 54?
Yeah, I met some of them who shall remain nameless for
a reason.
I met some of them at Studio 54, yes. And then I actually became friends with these people at that young age.
So you met some of these people at Studio 54, but others you met in some LA version of that or something? Because you specifically said that gay executives helped you out. I can't imagine that there's like a meeting where you just showed up and it's like Gay Executives Anonymous. And you're like, "Hi, I'm Rick. Who wants to help me out?"
No, what happens is that if you're friends with some of these big people, then you're over their house. You're eventually going to meet their friends. And then you meet the friends of their friends.
Hold on, let me write this down. I'm trying to better myself. Make friends. Got it. Okay. All right. So that's step one.
That's how that friend thing works. Yeah.
All right, I got to work on that.
And I just was really good with people. And, after being here a year or so, I got heavily involved with the modeling industry. And I had really great success in the 90s from Los Angeles. I'd moved back to New York for a year and I partnered with an agency called Women, which was the agency for Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell. And I opened their men's department and we killed it. That was 1995, 96. And then I moved back to LA. That's when I became a manager with Gallen Morey. Sandy Gallen was managing like Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey. They had Roseanne Barr, Martin Lawrence. And they also had people like Korn and Limp Bizkit. So they were extremely diverse management company.
Sounds like. And this was a general talent management, like CMA. What is it?
No, this is management as opposed to agency.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I started as a runner, like running packages at $12. Even though I had already owned my own agency twice, the one at Women and then the Ferrari models, the owner, Sandy Gallen, who I knew through the other executives, he made me start at the bottom And my first delivery package was out to Neverland Ranch to bring
Get the fuck out of here.
That was my very first delivery. Yeah, I never forget. I was driving a little Honda Civic.
Oh, what color?
Black.
Oh,
Black.
okay, cool.
But I did that for a minute, and then I got promoted to be on his desk. He had 3 assistants, and that turned out to be like a sitcom because I'm not really a good assistant. But I did bring some major talent to the management firm, so I was promoted to a junior manager. Sorry.
Okay, how does that work? You're at a club and you meet somebody, and you're like, "Hey, guess what?"
No, have you ever seen the movie Working Girl?
Yeah, but it's been so long ago.
I was like Working Girl. The whole point. The whole point of Working Girl is that Melanie Griffith is the assistant to Sigourney Weaver. And when Sigourney Weaver is away with a broken leg in Switzerland, Melanie Griffith takes over her office and pretends to be the executive. And that's what I did.
Sounds like Michael J. Fox in The Secret to My Success.
There, exactly. Yeah. So I basically faked my way. I approached a really big record producer and I approached one of the artists that he worked with. And I signed both. I got them signed. And then on top of that, I don't remember which came first because it's so long ago, but
it was the chicken.
It was the chicken. No, I think it was the egg, Steve. I think it's the egg. We were sitting at a staff meeting, but we would go down the list of everybody that the company represented, and all the managers would sort of talk about what they were doing. We got to Dolly Parton, and, one of the owners said, she's working on a new album cover and she wants something really different. And somebody nominated, they were like, Rick comes for the fashion business. He should be involved. Rick.
And MTV. He comes from videos and things. He knows what's up.
Right. But I took the opportunity and I knocked it out of the park. I called a friend of mine, David LaChapelle, this is sounding very name droppy. I'm really I'm
going to delete all those names.
That's my life. I don't know. I just don't know how to do my life without filling in the names.
Sure. You and Forrest Gump. I got it.
And I know. Yeah. David LaChapelle, big celebrity photographer with a very distinct style. So I said, David, would you like to do Dolly's album cover? And he freaked and said,
Who
yes.
fucking says no to that?
What gay man wouldn't want to do that?
Or straight man.
Anybody, right? They did an amazing job. It's called Dolly Parton's Treasures. It's an album where she covers a bunch of her favorite songs that ever came out. So some of them are pop songs, R&B, country. It's a beautiful record. And I had a friend that said Junior Vasquez wanted some vocal tracks of Dolly Parton to remix. And he was asking for really old songs that were hits of hers. I told them about the songs that she had just done for the album Treasures. And I called the producer in Tennessee, had him send her vocal tracks to Junior Vasquez, telling him that my boss wanted that. But meanwhile, my boss said absolutely not. He didn't want Dolly doing dance music. The CD came back with all the mixes. Dolly wanted to have a little thank you party for everybody that worked on the album cover. So we had a dinner party at my house with the photographer, David, and the stylist and the hair and makeup.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You had a dinner party at your house, and the queen of music, Dolly Parton, came to your dinner party.
Yes. My boyfriend at the time made a country dinner.
What the fuck is a country dinner?
Well, he he wanted it to be a theme that stuff that Dolly would like. So he did Black Eyed Peas and all these things that come from the South.
That sounds racist, Rick.
Is it?
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm talking about fried chicken.
It's called Southern comfort food. Not country food. It's called Southern comfort food.
Well, why I had the word in country in my head is because of Dolly and her genre of music.
Wait, what does that have to do with Dolly?
Country music?
You think Dolly Parton's country music?
I don't know.
Totally messing with you. Totally messing with you. She's the queen of country.
Did she go punk rock?
Yeah, her and Slayer are doing a duet this weekend.
So when Sandy found out that this happened,
who's Sandy?
My boss.
Oh, okay.
When he found out that happened, he was very irate with me, but Dolly loved the tracks. So, he couldn't fire me necessarily. So we went with it. And the remix for Peace Train became the longest dance track on Billboard's dance charts for that year, for 1997.
Wow. So you made her some money.
I made her. I mean, I don't know how much remixes make.
Well, she gets a writing credit. She makes money. You know that.
Yeah. So we had fun. It was a fun time. And then later on in life, that's when I started doing talent for advertising, either endorsements for celebrities or SAG scale commercials.
Sure. So before we move on to your commercial experience, a few weeks ago, I had a young lady on. She's a country singer. She came in I think fifth place or something on American Idol or something like that. Her name is Janelle Arthur. And recently, and I think there might even be a story on her right now in People Magazine, but her newest single is a duet with Dolly Parton. And based on that, I was trying to interview Dolly Parton, and I was very surprised at how far along I got into the process. From working with huge names that there's not just one gate you got to get through. There's several gates that you got to get through. And I was pretty proud that I got all the way to the final gate. I think I went through like 4 people before somebody said, look, I talked to Dolly and she's going to pass. So I was so excited that I didn't get turned away by all the security guards up to that last one. So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, Dolly is one of those people. She likes to stay connected to her fans, her public. She makes herself sort of semi-accessible. I mean, that's kind of one of the first things we started on. There was this college designer that sent in designs totally unsolicited by the company. And somehow Dolly wanted to buy one of his dresses just because she was like so supportive of this college kid that was so into designing. And he had sent her all these beautiful, beautiful mock-ups. And literally, so she was like that. She was very much like that. I think she still is.
I think she is too. I was talking to somebody who worked with her. Well, that same young lady she played her as a child at Dollywood in some plays. And then I also talked to another gentleman, Kyle Bornheimer, who worked with her on, I think Netflix did a sort of an anthology where they did a bunch of sort of 1-hour movies based on some of her songs. And so Kyle Bornheimer, who was on, he was in one of those things. He was telling me that because she was really only in the interstitials, like only in the sort of beginning, sort of, explaining what you're about to see or, what the song was based on or whatever. So she wasn't really in too many of the short films or films, but Kyle Bornheimer was saying that she would come to the set even days that she didn't have anything to do just to check on things and make sure everybody was doing all right, see if anybody needed anything. And then at the end of every set wrap, she would host this huge dinner party on the set or whatever, just to thank everybody. And it was one of the more charming, well, they're all charming, but it was one of the many charming stories that you hear about Dolly and how personable she is and down to earth and how she really likes to keep her fingers in all the pies, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So it's really cool to also hear you say those exact same things. I mean,
the dinner party thing, like that. She's very thankful, and I'm happy to hear that she was doing the same thing on these sets. I mean, that's
and this was like last year or whatever. So incredible. She's never stopped doing that apparently. Now let's talk about commercials. I was telling some folks earlier this week, I'm going to interview this dude, Rick Ferrari. He's a commercial agent. And they were like, what the fuck is a commercial agent? Because I don't live anywhere near either one of the coasts. And so my people are like, I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, okay, well, you see commercials or you hear commercials, and there's people in those commercials. That's what this dude does. He's an agent that helps people get auditions to be in commercials. And they were like, oh, so the answer's right in the name. And I'm like, yes, it's right in there. It's an agent for commercials. So, so what made you, well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to, let's just call her mutual friend, Cassandra Cardenas, because I would not have known your name were it not for her. So thank you, Cassandra. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So what drew you to commercials? Why did you decide to get into that game?
My first entree into that was in 2008.
Holy moly.
Yeah, 2008, there was a modeling agency, really, really sort of very stylized, very chic, very progressive, great reputation.
Paul Walker?
Yeah.
I have a thing in common with Paul Walker, but go ahead.
Oh, you do?
And it's not these stunning good looks.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. Absolutely. I'm an agent of faces. I can tell you, you're a dead ringer for Paul Walker.
Yeah, well, there you go. Take that, America.
Oh, wait. Not Paul Walker, Paul Giamatti.
You son of a... Love it. This interview is over. Fantastic.
Sorry. Hey,
I love that. Future guest, Paul Giamatti. Love it.
Oh, man. Where were we? So I applied to be the head of their men's division. I was going to go back to my old career of booking male models. And they said, no, you're too old for that position. It's kind of like being an A&R person at a record label. Like you really want young people to have that position because they really have to have their finger on the immediate pulse of what's happening, especially today when there's so much internet, there's so much access to, oh, that's passé. That's so 5 minutes ago. It literally can be so 5 minutes ago. So they wanted me to open the commercial department. And I said, commercials? I go, that's not sexy. That's not on brand for me in my career. I've never done, I would never do like Tide soap or.
Oh my God. Are you responsible for the Tide Pod challenge?
No.
I bet that sold a ton of units.
Oh, shit. So the woman who owned the agency was so relentless. She was like, look, we're housed at Smashbox Studios, which was a big draw because it was like the photo studio that they would rent to shoot all the A-list celebrities in Hollywood, like all of them, literally. And literally the agency was housed within the main building for Smashbox. So potentially I could recruit people. I could talk to them about representing them for endorsements. But what I did was I had a history with Paul Walker back at the Gallimore agency. That's where he started back in 1996. So I got to represent him commercially. And I also got Robert Downey Jr., two very small, insignificant names, but they were both at the top of their careers at the top.
So wait a minute. So you got Robert Downey Jr. at the top of his career? Like when he was in
Iron Man?
Weird Science?
Yeah, right. Back in Weird Science. No, back in Weird Science, I was a teenage model agent, remember?
Oh, that's right.
It's like I was a teenage werewolf. I was a teenage model agent.
There you go.
That'll be the title of my book.
Your second book. The first
Right.
one's going to be about those 3 years you were underage at Studio 54.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
It is 2140. You are trapped in an underground bunker, built a century ago to protect mankind from the pandemic on the surface. Now ruled by tyrants and their robot army. You are an outcast, an orphan, a scavenger, blind, afraid, and alone. You are Ace, a survivor, and you will try to escape this place known as Subterra. Subscribe to Subterra at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
So Paul Walker.
Yeah. So Paul, he was doing Fast and Furious, and Robert had the franchise with Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes. And so to be perfectly honest with you, that sort of put me on the map as a commercial agent. I built a cool agency around them. I built an agency that had really interesting people, really progressive, not like other commercial agencies that had the really squeaky clean, predictable types. So I kind of went with that throughout my career. And from 2008 to now, I sort of fell in love with the fast pace of commercials. I fell in love that I could work still with musical acts, models, and actors. I was like the waiting pool where all of these past careers of mine could all come together and help me be a success in this field. So it's kind of wonderful. I have enjoyed from 2008 to now creating really organic relationships with the best casting directors, the CCDA, Commercial Casting Directors Association. They're like awesome people. And we work together every day, and we put people in commercials. That's what we do.
That's fantastic. My Paul Walker story goes like this.
Tell me.
The day he died, so did my mother, and nobody cared about my mother.
Oh, no.
My mom did not make the news.
Serious?
Yeah, they died on the same day, and for some reason, Paul Walker got all the headlines that day. It was weird. I felt like my mom was Farrah Fawcett the day Michael Jackson died. Nobody cared.
Oh, my God, exactly. That was, oh, shit.
That's my connection with Paul Walker, and we've already talked about my connection to Paul Giamatti.
Let's talk. What other Pauls can we bring up?
Well, Paul Stanley, he looks like a fucking goblin, so there's that.
Stanley, yeah. That's...
Okay, so let's talk more about your commercial agency. What do you look for when you're scouting talent? Like, do you just walk up to somebody who has a certain look you're looking for and say, hey, what are you doing on Wednesday? Or is this like, or do you only go with SAG-AFTRA folks? Like, what are you looking for in some talent? And before you answer,
yeah,
I live way far away from you, so it's not going to work. I live in Texas. I know you're in California. I just can't work for you. I'm sorry.
I told you those were the conditions of me doing this podcast, is that you were going to let me represent you.
Sorry, man. It just can't happen. I'm too big, bro. I'm bigger than you, bro.
I'm bigger than you. Oh, shit.
So what do you look for in talent?
Back in the 80s and 90s when I was a model agent, there was a lot of walking up to strangers and giving them a business card and making them into a top model. There was a lot of that, and it was thrilling. Now, in this incarnation, it's more about the relationships that I have with the top, managers around town and the modeling agencies around the country. And I don't really have to scout anybody. They sort of, show people to me that they think I might like, and they want to place them with me because of, what they know about me and how I run my business. So there's very little, although my husband and I walked up to a gentleman.
Is your husband part of this agency as well?
Yeah, and his last name is Ferrari, Alex Ferrari and Rick Ferrari. Okay. So when we go to TSA, they always think that we're brothers.
Sure they do.
But yeah, it's a family business. It's like a pizzeria. That's how we run it, like a pizzeria. I mean, literally. We look for people. We went up to this guy, and it turned out he's a kickboxer, German and Middle Eastern. And yeah, I mean, immediately we sent him out on an audition the day we talked to him.
And how did that go? Did he get it?
No, it's happening right now.
This was yesterday, Steve.
To be continued, because it's currently happening. So we just sent him out yesterday or the day before yesterday. I can't remember. So it's too soon to even know if he gets a call back. But the thing about that is, I didn't send him. He was invited by the casting director. I sent his pictures and his reel to the casting director, and they said, yeah, we want to see him. Send him in.
And then you made him sign with you. Before you gave him that address, you made him sign a contract?
Yeah, I held it at ransom. That's hysterical.
So Rick and Alex, when you hear this, if you guys are looking for a schlubby, marshmallow white, out of shape, dad bod, no talent, no skills guy to represent or pitch anything in the San Antonio or Austin area, I know.
You know somebody like that?
Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah, he wears glasses. He looks bald on TV, but he's not really.
I get it. Okay. All right.
I know a guy. Remember, though, the caveats are no skills, no talent. And you have
it sounds perfect.
No experience, all of that.
Yeah, right up my alley.
Fantastic. So you recently decided to hang out your own shingle, right? You and your husband, Alex, y'all decided to start. You see how I said y'all? See, that's how you know I'm here in Texas.
Yeah.
So you guys decided to hang out your own shingle and start, let's call it Ferrari Talent, for lack of a better name.
That is the name.
Oh, I was hoping that was a placeholder because that's a terrible name. Totally kidding. Oh my God. I'm just messing with you. So why did you guys decide to go out on your own and start Ferrari Talent? Did you just get tired of not being the boss? Sounds like you've always been the boss.
In a way. I mean, look, I built the commercial department at Photogenics, and I was there for 5 years. And then I rebuilt another agency that I don't want to name and did that very successfully. And then I went to Buchwald and I built from scratch their commercial department in Los Angeles. They didn't have one. They only did like film and TV and literary.
And that, when you created their commercial division, that's when you stumbled upon our mutual friend, Cassandra?
Cassandra,
okay.
Exactly. Lovely, by the way. I think she's really wonderful.
She's hilarious and charming.
I see her as like a cast member of Girls. Like she's very current. She's very happening.
What's the lady who was the girl in Girls? What's her name?
Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham would never hire Cassandra because Cassandra would have outshone Lena Dunham on the show.
100%. Sorry, Lena Dunham.
I'm not.
But yeah, so we decided after 3 times doing it for somebody else that, it was time for me to do it for myself.
You took a lesson from your mom. You're like, what the fuck am I doing? My mom started an agency a million years ago.
Yeah, we have a best friend that's completely knowledgeable about the back end of this business. He's a genius, and he became my consultant. So he's the one that basically encouraged me enough to do this and helped me get all of the logistics of starting a business together. So that's what it is. We did it 3 times and we're like, and thank God for the pandemic, because the pandemic.
I don't hear those words often.
Really, right? The pandemic, actually 2020 was my best year. And I know people are going to hate me for that, but it was my best year in terms of, what I accomplished financially and for my clients. But that's what it was. I saw what we were able to do from home, during the pandemic for Buchwald. And I said, I can do this from home. And eventually we'll get a great office. But right now we're 4 months old and we're kicking ass.
It's great to hear that you're kicking ass. I love hearing that.
You skipped over that whole part about me producing a Broadway musical called Head Over Heels.
It's because that's super fucking gay, dude. I don't want to hear about that shit.
Too gay for you. Okay.
Hey, Rick, in a minute, we're going to talk about all of your talent agency stuff and your commercial things. But do I remember correctly? did you produce or have something to do with like a Broadway show called Heads Over My Hammy or Heels Over My Mom, or what is it called?
Head Over Heels. And the birth of that is that I was a friend of Belinda Carlisle's, and Alex, my husband, and I went to dinner with her, and she started recounting these wonderful stories. And when Alex and I were going home, he goes, you should do a Broadway show with the Go-Go's music. I didn't think it was a good idea because I didn't think they literally had enough songs that were known by everyone to do it. But it grew on me, and Belinda and I started the idea. And the next thing you know, 8 years later, we had a Broadway show opening at the Hudson Theater with amazing people like Anna Wintour in the audience. And
really?
Mark Jacobs, yeah. So the show was very progressive. We made history because the character that was played by Peppermint became the first trans actress to originate a role on Broadway.
Really?
Yeah, she became the first actress to originate. And now there's another incarnation of Head Over Heels about to open in the Pasadena Playhouse.
Do you get paid on that? I don't need to know how much. I'm just curious. Like if somebody...
That's hysterical.
I'm totally serious. I don't need to know how much you're getting paid. I'm wondering, like, do you get paid if a Pasadena Playhouse does your shit?
No. I mean,
Sweet.
First of all, I didn't write it. Wonderful people wrote it. Jim Magruder, Jeff Whitty, great people wrote it.
So you were a producer?
I was a producer, and I produced it with Donovan Leitch, who a lot of people know. His father's Donovan.
Donovan the singer from the 50s?
60s, yeah.
That's the same thing.
Donovan's son is named Donovan. And actually now Donovan Jr.'s son is D3. He's called D3 because he's Donovan the third.
You want to hear something worse?
What?
My name is Steve. My dad's name is Steve. My brother's name is Steve, and my son's name is Steve.
Wait, how does it work? Two brothers are named Steve. How did that happen?
It's my first name and my brother's middle name.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Isn't that nuts?
I mean, your family likes the name Steve. It's a good name.
And my sister, Stephanie.
Name. And look, you ended up with Street.
How
Fascination
Street. Fascination Street, indeed. Rick Ferrari, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and or point them in the direction of a website, maybe that sounds like FerrariTalent.com or something like that?
Most talent agencies just sort of have a splash page. We're sort of very private. So yeah, FerrariTalent.com, but I'm on Instagram as Rick_Ferrari and also at Ferrari Talent Agency. That's the official Instagram page. But I'm super stoked. I'm super thrilled that you had me here and that we did this. This has really been fun.
Well, it was 100% my pleasure. And I don't feel like we even scratched the surface of all that is Rick Ferrari. So I'm going to throw it out there, man. I'm going to ask you, you can say no, but I'm going to ask you back probably next year or something. I had a lot of fun, man. And we can check in and see how you're doing with this weird Ferrari Talent name thing.
Thank you, brother.
So as we're heading out real quick, before I let you go, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you that you specifically wanted to talk about today? Like, did I miss anything?
Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. I think that I've talked my head off. It's been fascinating. It really has been fascinating
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Rick Ferrari, thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out and let us get to know you on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. And you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2001 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.